Production for Panther Sports Talk is brought to you in part by Johnson's Automotive Service is a proud supporter of Panther Sports on WEIU. Johnson's is a complete car facility for all your automotive repair and maintenance needs. Johnson's Automotive Service, keeping your life running.
Welcome to another edition of Panther Sports Talk. I'm Brad Kupiak filling in for Rich Moser. This week the latest in EIU softball and baseball, and we'll end the show with highlights as EIU track and field hosted the Big Blue Classic this past weekend. First off, we're talking Panther softball with head coach Angie Nicholson and coach. Big weekend at home, won 3 out of 4. Let's start with the EKU doubleheader on Saturday. A couple of really low-scoring games and a couple of real big pitchers' duels.
Yeah, we knew going into the EKU series that we were going to face a tough pitcher in Pitzenberger, and she did a great job, and Hannah Menica did a great job too. Just we gave up the 2 long balls that hurt us, but good series. And
then obviously the whole weekend, both pitchers really pitched really well.
Oh yeah, I mean, Steph Madej, that's the best I've seen her. Since I've been here, both games she was really in command and showed a lot of confidence and she really didn't mess around. And in the past we've been talking a lot about pitch count, and we're getting too deep in a lot of counts, and she was real efficient this weekend, and it was really nice to see that.
And moving to the Sunday doubleheader, obviously another great performance by both pitchers, a little bit higher scoring on the offensive side.
Yeah, we well, when you get runners on, you can make things happen, and we didn't get so many runners on in the EKU games, but against Moorhead we were able to get runners on, and for different reasons. And when you're able to get runners on, we were able to finally be aggressive on the base pass, and that's another thing we've been really preaching this year. And we stole a lot of bases, we were moving, we were running, and hitting the ball hard. So it was nice to see everything finally come together.
And we've already talked about the pitchers, but Madej going out there throwing a no-hitter on Sunday, and just it's got to be a big confidence booster as a coach to have 2 aces that you can really throw out there and be confident that they're going to go out and deliver good quality starts.
Yeah, it was really good. I think Madej's needed that, and we all needed to see her do that. So it felt good. I know she was so happy. We were all so happy for her. And the first thing she said when I congratulated her was, thank you to the defense. And our defense was flawless this weekend too.
Yeah, I mentioned talking a little bit before we got started here that a whole series, 4 games, and 0 errors committed by your team. That's got to be great. Yeah. Great to see solid defense.
It is, because we have committed some errors and done some things that, in my eyes, really, it's not really us. And so it was nice to be able to back our pitchers and do everything we needed to do to pull out those wins.
Now, before the show airs, you guys are going to be at SIU Carbondale. What are you looking to get out of that series?
I'd like to. Hannah Cole's been out with a concussion, so she was just released on Friday to just take, she was allowed to DP. So we did put her in that role, and she struggled this weekend, and I'm not sure if it was because of the concussion or she's just not hitting well. But, Amber Tenya's got the opportunity to come in and hit for her, and came in with her first collegiate home run, and then, another sac fly and another hit. And it was really nice to see that. So I'd like to, keep plugging away and give Amber another shot at Carbondale and see if she's a powerful girl, and she should be able to do some damage for us at the plate. So I'd like to see her, and just kind of maybe mess around with the lineup just a little bit, just to see what we have, because we've got to get it figured out for the tournament.
And after a big OVC weekend this weekend, you guys are now, I think, a game and a half back in the division, playing one of the division leaders this weekend coming up. What are you looking at against UT Martin?
I guess I just would like to see us stay consistent. This weekend showed what we're capable of doing, and I'd like to just see that continue on, and I'd like to keep taking steps forward. UT Martin's, not going to be a team to mess around with. They've got some speed. They like to run the bases. So I think that'll be a test for us, because we haven't really come across a team that runs the bases like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'd like to see what we do with that. And again, hopefully we just stay consistent and we hit the ball well.
And who are you looking at throwing out there pitcher-wise? I mean, are you going to go back to Menega Medea again
Yeah.
in Carbondale, and then this weekend at UC Martin?
Yeah, Medea's going to get the start against Carbondale. We'd like to rest Hannah and keep her fresh and give Medea the start. Medea deservingly deserves that start after what she's shown. So, yeah, and we're just going to keep going with the tag team, and then we've got freshman Hannah Rocker, who's also ready to roll too.
Okay, thanks, Coach. Wish you the best of luck out there. Just a reminder, EIU softball plays at SIU Carbondale on Wednesday, and then this weekend home at Williams Field for a 3-game series against the Skyhawks. Doubleheader starting at 1 o'clock on Saturday, and then a 1 o'clock first pitch on Sunday. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you.
Up next, there's a look at this week in Panther athletics.
WEIU is your home for Eastern Illinois Panther sports. Panther football.
Here comes the blitz. Jimmy's going to throw it deep down the middle. Laura's out there. Got it. And he's on his way. Garoppolo burns the blitz. Touchdown, Eastern Illinois.
Panther basketball.
All the way. Laid it up. No. Another dunk. Petrowski again. Back-to-back rebound dunks.
Panther greats. WEIU is your home for Panther sports. Panther fans, here's what's going on in Panther athletics. Baseball now 9-22 overall and 4-8 in OVC play, as they went 2-2 last week. They lost at Illinois State 9-4 and won 2 out of 3 games at OVC rival Murray State. And prior to the airing of this show, on Tuesday, baseball will host Illinois over in Mattoon, Illinois. And then on Wednesday afternoon, they'll host Illinois College at Coaches Stadium. For the results and stats of those 2 games, check out EIUPanthers.com. Softball now 26-11 overall and 7-4 in OVC play. As they went 3-1 this past week, they split a doubleheader against Eastern Kentucky at Williams Field, and they swept a doubleheader against Morehead State at Williams Field. And prior to the airing of this show on Wednesday, softball is at Southern Illinois. For the result and stats of that game, check out EIUPanthers.com. Outdoor track hosted the Big Blue Classic over at O'Brien Field this past weekend. The Panthers posted 3 first-place finishes, 2 of them by Calvin Edwards of the men's team. The men placed 2nd overall, and the women placed 4th overall. Women's tennis split their 2 home matches over at the Charleston High School tennis courts. They're now 9-4 overall and 3-4 in OVC play. Their win came against Southeast Missouri State. Men's golf wrapped up competition at the Arkansas State Red Wolf Intercollegiate on Tuesday. For the results of that tournament for the Panthers, check out EIUPanthers.com. And men's soccer hosted a spring match against Cincinnati over at Lakeside Field. Now here's what to watch for this week. On Thursday, men's and women's tennis host OVC rival SIU Edwardsville at the Atkins Tennis Center in Urbana, Illinois at 1 o'clock. On Friday, baseball begins a 3-game series against OVC rival Tennessee Tech over at Coaches Stadium, with Game 1 of the series starting at 3 o'clock. And track with select athletes at 2 different meets on Friday. Some will be at the Illinois Twilight Meet, and others will be at the Western Kentucky Hilltopper Relays. On Saturday, track with a 2nd day of action at the Western Kentucky Hilltopper Relays. Women's golf begins a 3-day run at the Indiana State Invite in Terre Haute, Indiana. Men's and women's tennis host OVC rival Tennessee State over at the Charleston High School tennis courts, with the women's match at 10 o'clock in the morning, followed by the men's match at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And men's soccer with 2 spring matches over at Lakeside Field. They'll host Parkland College at 10 in the morning, followed by a match at 11:30 against Trinity International. And softball begins a 3-game series against OVC Western Division rival UT Martin with a doubleheader on Saturday. Game 1 starts at 1 o'clock. Baseball with Game 2 of their 3-game series over at Coaches Stadium against Tennessee Tech. The game is slated to start at 1 o'clock. And Panther Athletics will host the Spring Fling at Lance Arena on Saturday night. On Sunday, women's golf with Day 2 of action at the Indiana State Invite. Men's golf begins a 3-day run at the Tennessee State Big Blue Intercollegiate. Men's and women's tennis with another home match at the Charleston High School tennis courts as they host OVC rival Belmont at 11 in the morning. Softball wraps up their 3-game series against OVC rival UT Martin at Williams Field at 1 o'clock. And baseball wraps up their 3-game series against Tennessee Tech over at Coaches Stadium at 1 o'clock. On Monday, both Panther golf teams in action. Women's golf wraps up play at the Indiana State Invite, and men's golf with Day 2 of competition at the Tennessee State Big Blue Intercollegiate. Next Tuesday, April 15th, men's golf wraps up play at the Tennessee State Big Blue Intercollegiate, and baseball hosts Indiana State over at Coaches Stadium at 3 o'clock. For Panther Sports Talk, I'm Ramin Kerbassioun.
Welcome back to Panther Sports Talk. We're joined now by head coach of EIU Baseball, Jimmy Schmitz. And Coach, big weekend, took 2 out of 3 this weekend at Murray State. Seemed like a lot of things went right against the Thoroughbreds.
Really did. We went into that weekend, obviously with a tough weekend before J State. Just saying, hey, we're going to stick with the lineup. We're not making switches. told the rotation, told the pitchers, these are the 6, 7 guys we're going to go with. And I think it just gave our guys some confidence. You know, we have been switching around maybe too much due to guys not performing, but we said we had to win a series. You don't have to, when you're 2-7, there's nothing else to say, but really, really proud of how they came back on Sunday after a really tough loss on Saturday night when we took the lead and was not able to hold it. So we won a series, and you know, at this particular point, like I said, we got 6 to go, and you know, our goal is to be 12-4, and if that's the case, or 12-6, if that's the case, I think we'll be in good shape. But right now, just happy with how we came out and played.
Looking at the top of the lineup, obviously had a couple of extra inning games Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday the lineup just really exploded. Brant's been really on fire since he's coming back from his injury here.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I think the paper, I said it, I mean, your star players really have to play at that level. We didn't have him in the lineup for 5 weeks. Tyler Schweigert did a great job replacing him, but you have to have 1 or 2 guys in the middle there. Dimitri's done well with nobody really behind him to help produce runs. Caleb Howell continually gets on base. So having Brant back, and he's playing with some pain with an injury, and just says a lot about how he cares so much about the team, and he's going to go play for us. So, you know, that really got us going confidence-wise, and hopefully, you know, he'll stay healthy and everyone else will continue to get better.
How has his defense been holding up? Obviously, it's on his throwing wrist. How's he been doing throwing the ball to first base?
It gets there. A couple throws were like, I'm glad that wasn't a fast runner. I think he knows the runner. I think he knows the game so well where he knows he's got to get rid of it. It's not the most comfortable. In fact, he says throwing hurts him worse than the hitting. So, yeah, again, he's played really, really well. And that's another thing I didn't talk about. Obviously, we scored 10 runs and 14 runs. We're excited. But defensively, the errors we had were related to more bunt defense plays. But, wow, Dane Sauer was unbelievable. Frankie Perrone threw out 2 runners. Dimitri threw out the winning run there in the 11th inning at home. So, you know, momentum is a big key. Pitchers pitched well, and we got behind them. So we put all 3 things together this weekend, and that was really exciting.
You mentioned the pitchers. Obviously, Barton's been used in more of a bit of a closing role, and he got stretched out a bit on Saturday. What was that like, having him go 4+? It
probably got us the win, and also got us the win on Sunday. You know, we kind of have been putting different people in, going with 8 or 9 pitchers, and we said, hey, these are our 6 guys. And if Troy has to extend, or Chase Thurston or Ben Kennedy, the guys in the bullpen that are doing the best, we're going to win with them or lose with them. So, you know, Jason kind of looked at me there, maybe in the 11th or something, and I said, hey, he's got to be our guy. And he just kept going out there throwing strikes, and so it was really great to see that, because people have to do a little bit more during the next stretch, because we are in a hole, and we're going to have to play better.
And with the pitching, you've had Joe Hansmeyer and Borens, Friday, Saturday guys, and you've mixed and matched a little bit with Sunday this year. Greenfield went out and had a good start this past Sunday. Is he going to kind of be the Sunday guy, do you think, the rest of the year? Yeah,
Joe is. You know, I felt he struggled in the relief role, being our closer. We like Troy in that role right now. So Joe Greenfield's our Sunday guy. The more he gets on the mound and pitches those 6 or 7 innings, the more comfortable he gets with some of the change-ups and the breaking ball. So we feel good about the 3 guys. Joe Hansmeyer was the best he's pitched since actually Lafayette. So he really commanded the fastball, even though he's an off-speed guy. He was exceptional. So again, you know, we felt good about all phases of our game. Have Illinois tomorrow, which I guess isn't tomorrow, right? Or whatever. Right. We played Illinois. So, but, you know, we just kind of said this is it. And maybe as coaches we made maybe too many moves. And so it takes the confidence away from the guy. But we're going to stick with these guys, and hopefully they'll get us through this stretch.
And now you kind of mentioned it a little bit. Before the show airs, you're going to have a night game in Mattoon against Illinois, and then Illinois College day game after a night game. What are you looking to get out of those 2 contests?
Well, we got to play people on Wednesday. You know, we try to schedule a few Wednesday games against Division II opponents to let the freshmen who really don't get a chance to play. Tuesday, it's to really see if we got things really going together. Illinois is pitching unbelievable. So we're going to have to be a team that, scraps some runs in with a fly ball or a sack or something like that to get ready for Tennessee Tech, who is coming in and again was picked to win the league and playing extremely well. So we got over the bump at Illinois at J-State. We started playing well. Now it's to see if we can consistently play that level of baseball.
And that's what I was going to ask next, was looking at that series with Tennessee Tech this coming weekend at home. What are you looking at against Tennessee Tech? What are you looking to get out of that?
Well, I think, it's what we did at Murray. Tennessee Tech is a really good team. Offensively, I think they're a little more explosive than Murray. But it's to see if we're for real. I mean, we played really well this weekend. And I mean it, all phases of the game. We played extremely well. So we're going to now play a good team. And maybe I made too much of it with J-State. I mean, we had a chance to win 2 of those games and didn't do it. I don't know if I put too much pressure on when you dig a hole, you got to come out of it. But now it's to see if we're really as good as we were at Murray. And if we are, and we play well and win 2 out of 3, which is, again, our goal, then I think it's going to send a message to other people in the league that, EIU's playing good and they're ready to get back in this race a little bit.
Yeah, that's one thing, is looking at the standings. You guys are 4-8 in conference play right now, and there's 3 teams ahead of you, 5-7. So if you have one good weekend, you can really catapult yourself into that top half of the league. Yeah,
and as a coach, I don't talk standings a lot. We went to Murray. We talk a lot about the NCAA tournament, and what people have done, and look at UConn and what they've done, and they're ready to lose their first game in the tournament, and they're going to play, and actually they're going to win. So we talked about, let's just try to win 2 out of 3. Don't make it any bigger. If it's Tennessee Tech or SEMO, who's playing really well, we have to win 2. If you win 2 out of 3, you really don't need to look at the standings. You're making a movement in the right direction.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. Again, several opportunities to see the Panthers this week at home, Tuesday night against Illinois, and then Wednesday at Illinois College before this show airs. And after the show airs, 3-game series at home against Tennessee Tech. First game starts Friday at 3 o'clock at Coach's Stadium. Thanks a lot, Coach. We're going to leave you with some EIU track and field highlights as they hosted the Big Blue Classic this past weekend. Thanks for watching Panther Sports Talk on WEIU.
WEIU, your home for Eastern Illinois Panther Sports, presents Panther Sports Talk. Highlights, player features, and coaches' interviews with host Rich Moser. All things you need to know EIU sports on Panther Sports Talk.
Join us Wednesday at 6:30 on WEIU.
Jumping out to a good lead is Jaleesa Paramore from Eastern Illinois. He's a senior in white. White to the outside. Robinson of Eastern Illinois. Southern Illinois making. Here comes the anchor leg. Southern and Eastern. Emily Beresford. Now running into second. Looks like she will finish second. From Eastern. Gassman coming also from Eastern. Ballard, Gassman. Going 1-2. Right now it's Dean. Coming strong on the inside. Eastern, out in lane 6, is currently in the lead. Nicholson. And hang on. Romaine Hill. Ashley Boat. Section 6. Amelia Nicholson out in lane 8 for Eastern Illinois. In the white top. Driving to the finish. Calvin Edwards of Eastern in white on the inside by the tunnel. Had a time of 21.5, which is a personal record for Calvin Edwards. 21.5.
Production for Panther Sports Talk is brought to you in part by Johnson's Automotive Service is a proud supporter of Panther Sports on WEIU. Johnson's is a complete car facility for all your automotive repair and maintenance needs. Johnson's Automotive Service, keeping your life running.